Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Whatever time of day it is, and whatever day it is, I want to thank you for listening to another episode of Eric Urban for Kansas House 53. So today is November 11th. The election was last week, so I lost. We'll get more into that. I do offer my general apologies for all the stuttering or overall audio-video quality of this. But it is what it is. And as a general warning, there might be vulgarity. I don't think there should be this time. Although this is episode 11, we're going over hate mail, so that'll be fun. But before we do that, just so we kind of just address the monkey in the closet, or that was my dog shaking. For the race that I was in, Kansas House 53, the Democrat won. He won about 51% of the votes. The Republican won about 44%, and I won around 5%. I would say that the overall experience of running was like amazing. I don't know, so many very educational. Doing the campaign managing was, like I said, very educational. I learned a lot. I really would love to kind of like talk about it, but probably not going to put that on the internet, just because it really kind of opened my eyes about let's just say marketing and advertising. And if you were ever wanting to sell a product, and you're like, hey man, I know how to sell a product, like the Chicago Cubs, like even if they're like bad, like you still want to sell them, like Harry Carey did back in the 80s. Not to say libertarianism is bad, but just in general, just marketing and advertising. The goal is just to sell your product, and it doesn't really matter how good the product is. And that's what campaign managing is. Politics is the other part, where you're really trying to show that your product is good. Let's see here. So what does that mean for the future of this channel? Well, I'm going to keep this channel going. I think I might try to rebrand it because it seems a little silly for me to be talking about some race that I'm not in, but I do like talking about politics, and we'll just kind of keep this going. And as far as my political future, if I ever run again, I don't really have to talk about that for at least 12 months because it wouldn't be until 2 years that there'd be another election. So that's not where my brain is at. Oh, you know what? Before I get into hate mail, let me do a little bit of a PSA about yard signs. I bought 50 yard signs, and a good 48 of them, I guess I would say, ended up out in public spaces as opposed to actually being in private yards. And I think I got about a good 20, probably 2 dozen at the most back. In other words, less than 50% of my signs. And I believe that a good half of them just get run over by lawnmowers, or maybe they get destroyed in the wind, or maybe there really is that collective holic about political paraphernalia that wants you never know, what if this guy becomes president in 50 years? I'm going to steal his sign, because that way I can say I had the one when he ran for county clerk. I think it's just bad people. I can appreciate that if maybe it's put somewhere on a particular spot, that if you own it, you can take it down. But if it's in public stuff, like, I can appreciate if you're in the easement of like a church, and the church is like, no, I don't want your sign in front of me. Or like if you're in the public easement right before the elementary school. Like there's probably some stuff where even if it's public, you might not want to put it. Like I saw all sorts of them in the park. And I even got some of my signs back from the park. And I was rather surprised that the park would be places. But anyway, point is don't steal signs. Not cool, man. Yeah. Let's move on. Here we go. Hate mail. So I should preface this by saying that one of the things that I did with my campaign is I paid a company to send out a bunch of text messages for my campaign. So it was basically spamming people. And obviously some people don't like that, and I don't blame them. I don't like spam either, but it's kind of part of the game. I did say I got other good things from it, but I got hate mail too. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, most of that hate mail was basically you're a, like, whatever. Whatever it was, the A word to the Z word and anything in between. Just assume that anyone can call anyone all sorts of rotten names when they not saying it to their face, because that's called internet bullying. But, like, whatever. I got one, though, that I want to share because I love it. I think it's brilliant. It's totally not hate mail, but it's hilarious how it tries to come off as hate mail. Now, this person told me to not reach out to them and take me off their phone list. And obviously, just in general sake of general privacy, of course I won't say that this person's name. But let's say, what did this person say to me? He said, and I quote, "I think libertarians are individuals who have started and not finished their education. We aren't an island is the part that is missed." And I think that's a brilliant statement. And as I kind of have my list of things that I want to talk about with it, one of the first things that comes to my mind right now that I didn't write down, I want to share, is I think you could really make that statement about we aren't an island to anyone and everyone who has an extreme opinion, whether it's an extreme Republican, an extreme Democrat, extreme whatever. If you're an extremist, you're just that. You literally kind of are out there on your own, and you can't interact with people because not everyone wants to play by your rules. But let's go ahead and let's dive into this quotation. I think libertarians are individuals. Step one, thank you. I really, really, really appreciate that you think of me as an individual. I think of you as an individual. I haven't talked about the demographics of you because I don't want to. It means nothing. So I do take it as a compliment. And as an individual, I can always critique the Libertarian Party. If this person had probably never got to really know what my campaign was about, but I'll just acknowledge, I will put party ahead of people. That's why I'm not running as a Republican. That's not why I'm running as a Democrat, because I don't trust people that run as Republicans or Democrats to put the party over the people. They might try to offer some level of moderation in their views. But when push comes to shove, there is a branding issue, in my opinion, of the letter R, and there's a branding issue, in my opinion, of the letter D. And you could say the same thing about libertarians, and we're going to kind of continue on with that, where the idea is that there are libertarians out there who are just in the party, and then there's other people that happen to be registered libertarians. For the same reason that there are people that are registered Republicans, there are people who vote Republican, and they're not running for office, and they're not even like Republican Party, they're not out door knocking or doing anything. They're just like, yeah, man, I know who to vote for or who I want to vote for. And in general, it kind of works like this. And as we become more partisan, that percentage from 80% to 90% to 100% as far as voting a party ticket continues to grow. And so I felt like my platform was a little bit more moderate than libertarianism. I mean, I definitely disagreed with the presidential candidate on several issues, and I'm not going to go into that right now because I really just want to talk about the hate mail. But just so you know, when you call me an individual, you're also calling me conservative, you're calling me a liberal, you're calling me right-wing, you're calling me left-wing, you're calling me a Republican, you're calling me a Democrat, and you're calling me a libertarian. You're calling me green. You're calling me an individual, you're calling me an independent, you're calling me a moderate. You can also call me an extremist. Like, there are certain things where I'm pretty extreme on. So just as an individual, you should know that I'm an individual. I'm not like brainwashed or like mind virus libertarian. Like, I generally am libertarian. So anyway, thank you for the compliment. Let's move on to the next sentence. So anyway, he said, I think libertarians are individuals who have started and not finished their education. Okay, so, thank you. You're telling me that I started my education. Now, that sounds like a very partisan thing to say, because I'm imagining that you think that the other side hasn't even started their education yet. But apparently libertarians have. We just haven't finished it yet. I think that's kind of an interesting critique. I've kind of talked about the extremism already. One thing I wanted to talk about was when we had the Kansas State convention. They had all the presidential candidates there, and they gave speeches and stuff. And one, they were all very extreme, which I was a little disappointed in because I really wanted to think to myself, hey, you're going to be the person that's going to be like putting the Libertarian Party out there. Like, when you say that you're going to disband 100% of these 10 agencies on day one, as much as I think that's cool, there's a good chance that 95 to 97% of America doesn't. Like, even if you want to eliminate whatever department, the ATF, or the Department of Education, which one do you do on day one and which one do you do on day two? Or which one do you do 50% of on day one and which one do you do 10% on day two? Like, how do you understand, like, the nipping of it? Because you can't just take an axe to a building and then know where you're going to sleep tonight. Like, you have to have a plan too. And I think it's a remodeling and a restructuring than a stick of dynamite. But anyway, oh yeah, so let's go back to what he said. Not finish their education. So anyway, I have a master's degree in education, in mathematics, math education I should say. And I have an undergraduate degree in engineering, and I have a few other different career certificates, let's call them. I am not saying that because that makes me smarter than this person. I don't necessarily entirely know what they mean by not finishing my education, maybe in a partisan sense. But if you're looking for pieces of paper, I have pieces of paper. And if you're a doctorate and you're going to be, so you only have a master's degree, like, okay, Sheldon, like, make fun of Howard, if you get the reference from Big Bang. The idea is that those pieces of paper do not make me smart. You're going to have to ask yourself, what is the definition of being educated? For me, I need someone to have a certain logical description of what it is that they're arguing or debating. If they want me to believe in something, I don't care if it's whether or not Christ is king or whether or not it's the earth is round. Like, you need to address things to me in terms of empirical evidence, or at least some sort of good rationale when you talk to me, in order for me to sort of like value it. What is it, Javier Miles? The Argentinian president, the Libertarian president. I just saw this quote today, and I think it's beautifully appropriate. And he said, if printing more money would end poverty, then printing more diplomas would end stupidity. What does this man mean by education? Oh, you have pieces of paper that give you permission to be smarter than me? Should I write the letter A on a piece of paper and hand it to you? Like, oh, well, there you go. I got a report card that makes me better than you. Like, come on, dude. That's not what education is. That's not what wisdom is, and you should know that. At least I think I do. All right, so anyway, but it's a good critique because I think some libertarians haven't finished their education. There's definitely some extreme ones in there that I disagree on. And he kind of finishes then again, we aren't an island is the part that is missed. And so I've talked about libertarian extremism. I've talked about party loyalty. I had a conversation with a libertarian after the election who is, he's got TDS. Like he thinks the apocalypse might be happening. And good person, I trust him totally. He told me that he voted for Chase Oliver, and I'm just going to assume that that's true. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, if you literally had three choices, Apocalypse, Kamala, or Chase Oliver, knowing bloody well that Chase Oliver isn't going to win. So now you have two choices, Apocalypse or Kamala. Like, I'd probably vote for Kamala. Like, that's just me. Because I'm thinking to myself, if I voted Libertarian, and in like the state of Kansas, being a red state, Trump would be the most likely person to vote. If you vote Libertarian, just flip a coin, but it's more like 51% Trump wins, which according to this person is the apocalypse. So you vote Libertarian, the apocalypse happens. You die at least knowing you voted Libertarian, I guess. I guess there's honor in that. I don't know. According to him, there is. Or you vote Libertarian, Kamala still gets elected, so you're like, we just dodged a bullet, the apocalypse is not happening, and I have the honor of voting for Libertarian and sticking true to my principles. Okay. Or maybe this Libertarian votes for Kamala, at which point there's now this 49% chance of the apocalypse happening. At which point you're going to die, and then you're like either ashamed of yourself because you didn't stay true to your principles, or you're happy about it because you're like, well, at least I tried, I really voted for Kamala. Or it's the 51% chance that Kamala wins. And now you're going to have to like live with the fact that you voted for that. And instead of, Chase, like what if she won by 2 votes? You could be like, well, shit, I could have just voted for Chase Oliver and stuck to my principles and still avoided the apocalypse. It's that sort of party mind virus loyalty that I just don't understand. And so I think this video has gone on long enough. Thank you for listening, for those of you who are still here. Thank you for the hate mail, random person. I won't give out any more information about you. I think it's an amazing critique of the Libertarian Party. I think it's a critique of the political system, of everyone. Everyone deserves to hear words like that spoken to them at some point in their life. Because you've probably done something that's worthy of, hey, you know, like, you have to learn how to compromise with everyone. You got to learn how to share. That's what he's saying. You know, it's kindergarten. Like, you have to learn how to share. And that's why I'm not going around and being like, well, we should have zero police. Like, I didn't run on that. There might be some libertarians that are out there that are doing it. Like, I'm not an anarchist. That's not what I'm about. So, yeah, I think we can wrap up this video. This will be my last minute of rambling here for you. When will the next video occur? I don't know. I'm going to look into rebranding in terms of just, like, it seems a little silly for my YouTube channel to be named Eric Herman for KISS 53, given that I'm not really running for office right now. And even if I ever did run for office and wanted to kind of use this channel for it, that isn't even to say that that's the race I would even run for in 2 years or 4 years or 20 years if I ever choose to run again. So, we'll have to see what happens with that. I want to thank everyone who voted. Good job at voting. I think, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, and so I'm not going to look them up, but I think, I know the Democrat won with over 5,000 votes. And I know that I got around, well, 500 votes, which is 5%. So in other words, I think about 10,000, over 10,000 people, I think, voted in this race. And I think there was over 15,000 registered voters. And I'm just kind of shocked about the voter turnout. Now, at least for that race. Maybe some people just showed up just to vote for the president and didn't really care about any of the other ones. That's possible, I suppose. I doubt it. I bet most of the people that didn't vote just simply didn't vote. And, oh man, I just wish it was higher. Like, I really do. Otherwise, until next time, bye.